Welcome back to another fantastic edition of Idology, your weekly American Idol recap show. How do I know it's going to be fantastic? Because like Jimmy Iovine, I can predict the future.
I think he's in the bottom 3.
I'm here with season 6 standout Melinda Doolittle. We're going to talk about top 8 week and how it went down.
I'm sorry, we're not saving you tonight.
We've had a trend going on for about 3 weeks running that people are going out after their best performance or close to their best performance. We saw it with Erica Van Pelt, we saw it with Heejun, and I think, I wouldn't say this was DeAndre's very best, but it certainly was a good note to go out on.
That performance for me, there were some really, really great parts, and then there were just a couple of parts that just were weird. There was a point where I felt like his falsetto kind of came out of nowhere. And I think maybe with the audience being so polarized on DeAndre, that was the nail in the coffin for him, and I hate it because I actually love his voice.
I think at the end of the day, this was a spare when he needed a strike. There's my sports metaphor for the week. How do you like that?
That was really, really nice.
We interrupt this Butch moment of Idology to get back to subjects at hand like Holly. I thought Holly was doomed this week. It felt like Dancing with the Stars when Martina Navratilova lost her steps and you were like, oh no, because she was just sort of skittering around the stage in a lot of fringe, looking like she lost the way. She somehow ended up at one point in front of like a box next to the judges table, almost like a Roomba that gets caught in the corner. She was just sort of like, where do I go? I forgot what Nappy Tabs told me to do next. And it was like, oh no, Holly.
I could almost see her counting in her head like, 5, 6, 7, 8, and turn. I felt so bad for her, and I have decided that Holly needs to be possibly in a duo or something like that, because every time she does a group kind of song, she blazes it. Maybe she's like, I need somebody on stage with me to make me comfortable. Maybe she's just not comfortable in her own skin quite yet.
The other part of the bottom 3 this week breaks my heart to say Elise kind of belonged in the bottom 3 if we're basing it just on the week's performances. And, the tough part for her is she can't have a bad week. Unlike, say, Phillip, who has this body of work that people carry with them week to week. With Elise, it's sort of like, oh, we forgot that you kind of rocked the show the last 2 weeks. You had one bad week. We're going to pitch you back not only into the bottom 3, but into the bottom 2.
I felt like she never grabbed onto it and just got in the middle of the beat and the melody. I felt like she was trying to do a little much, and that's not normally how she does it.
I was finding myself in agreement with Randy Jackson while he was wearing that red clown shirt.
You were just underneath the pitch every time.
I'm glad she survived. I feel like she is a contender. My theory is that maybe she felt the weight of becoming a front runner. She was almost more comfortable being that person in the bottom 3 and like, okay, I've got nothing to lose. I'm just gonna go out there and be awesome. And this week she came into the week thinking, I might actually have a chance to win, and I felt that strain. So Melinda, I've gotta say, I've got a bone to pick with Jimmy Iovine this week. And it begins with his prediction that DeAndre was going to be in the bottom 3 before DeAndre had even sung a note.
I think he's in the bottom 3.
To me, that's not the role of a mentor. And I almost feel like at this point, Jimmy would make a better judge sitting in Randy's chair and giving succinct feedback about what went wrong or what went right. I feel like he's better at that than he is at sitting down with them beforehand and mentoring, because I don't think he's doing a whole lot of mentoring.
I think Jimmy does best after the fact, which is the only reason why I'm like, he might not be the best judge. Because in the room, when he's on the spot, he's like, yeah, okay, how about you do this? He's not helpful at all. So I feel like once he gets over to the next room and they can kind of edit his statements together very nicely, he's quite intelligent and actually helpful.
A lot of what he's saying the next day has armchair analysis, like I went out to the internet and I've gathered these thoughts and now I will distill them, or maybe his assistant goes out to the internet and gathers thoughts and he distills them.
There you go.
The thing is with Jimmy, I feel like there are 2 contestants who could really benefit from his mentoring right now, because it's going to be the difference between a 5th place and a 1st place finish, and that's Phillip and Jessica. I feel like with Phillip, when we got That's All this week, you haven't done anything like what you did in Vegas, where you covered that Usher song and took something that was R&B and flipped it to your style. It just seemed like a really blah choice for him.
It's always the same, it's just a shame, and that's all.
At At least J-Lo this week critiqued Phillip and said,
I felt like the beginning of it felt like you weren't all the way in your comfort zone.
Just a question for you. Did you think that it was just the first part of the song that had pitch issues?
No.
Or did you, no, okay.
I found it brutal.
It was hard to kind of listen to for me.
Yeah.
And I have grown to actually kind of love Phillip.
Yeah.
And so this time I was like, oh no. And I know he's got that built-in fan base that's just voting, and that's great. But after the fact, he's still gonna need to be able to know how to sing in pitch, pick great songs for himself, not sing the same song all the time.
I was very annoyed after results night when he sort of shrugged off Jimmy's advice.
I'm not trying to walk around stage and touch people's hands.
I didn't realize, and I don't think most people realized until he apologized about it on Facebook the morning after, when Jimmy said,
if he stands still, there's a very good possibility that other contestants will come up and pass him.
He interpreted it as, Jimmy wants me to go touch people's hands in the audience.
Right.
And that was...
like, I'm not allowed to stand still. Bless his heart. That's okay, though. We don't all know about metaphors. We don't, do we?
I don't know. I thought we all did. But the other person I want Jimmy to mentor hardcore is Jessica. Because I feel like with that voice, she is capable of anything. But she's getting a lot of criticisms for coloring within the lines.
I have to keep reminding myself, this is really hard to do.
Really
because
hard.
she makes it look so easy. But at the same time, I'm like, she still, for me, is doing the exact same thing that Whitney did.
And I think the problem is song choice. She's not doing anything that takes her out of her comfort zone.
Makes her change it up.
Maybe like a big old rock anthem.
At the very least, it would make her step out of her box.
The problem is too, she's not gonna pick up any new fans or any new speed dialers. She's got her speed dialing unit, and I don't know if it's enough to get her a victory or not. She needs to pick up new fans along the way, and I think she can do that by proving that she's interesting.
Right.
Okay, who totally worked for you this week?
Okay, really big surprise for you. Joshua Ledette.
I'm shocked.
Love him. I know you're shocked. Even though he's 19, he feels the song, like he just delivers it from his toes. And that's hard to do because I feel like he doesn't have a lot to draw from as far as experience, but he sure acts like he does.
That knee lift, if you don't, you know, and the whole duet. It was literally like Fantasia and J-Hud level of craziness.
Top two, please.
Let's not count Skylar Lane out. And shock of shocks, my favorite performance of the week was Skylar Lane.
Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I would like to be.
Every word that she sings means something. I never feel like she's been sort of wound up and is now rotely having the words come out of her. I feel like she's thinking about the song and what it means. She's a storyteller with a big ass voice.
I can fly higher,
Anytime you can make me like Wind Beneath My Wings and think it's not cheesy, even though there's a big gold bird flapping at me, anytime you can do that, you win in my book.
The other person this week that we haven't mentioned is Colton. I've got to give him 100 points for shaking up the song and the arrangement.
You say, go slow, fall behind.
And also very amusingly giving credit to the original artist.
The arrangement actually came from a band, Quiet Drive. I completely ripped them off.
But I'm going to subtract 20 points for like very nasal, weird pronunciations of his like. I can't even do what he was saying, but it was like something out of South Park making fun of an emo band.
Time after time.
I was like, how is he saying time?
Time after time.
I mean, that's cool. It kind of went with his vibe. He made it into my top four. You know, there was Joshua, Jessica, Skylar, and Colton.
I didn't even mind his mesh lady shirt on results night. I don't know. I have a feeling if he's watching Idology, he's probably going to come into the interview at the end of the season, because he'll probably be in the final three, and poke some fun at what I've been wearing all season long. Target. It's
I
from
think
Target.
if he does that, you should wear a V-neck just for him.